I'm here with Mick Hatten from the Rink Live. And Mick, we had two hockey matchups. We had Minnesota State playing our St. Cloud State Huskies in Game 1. And then later on in the night, we saw Minnesota take on Canisius. And, we know how the outcomes are. We know who we're going to be playing tomorrow. It'll be St. Cloud versus University of Minnesota. Is there anything specific that really stood out in both those games?
They were two very different games. I think it was a really tight, heavy, physical game between St. Cloud State and Minnesota State. And the Gophers game was tight for two periods, and then Minnesota just kind of found their legs, I think, a little bit, and found a lot of space. And any team that puts up 9 goals, you saw what their firepower is. Their top line is one of the most potent in the country when you look at the Gophers. And for St. Cloud State, they got just a tremendous goaltending performance again from Jackson Castor, and and they were opportunistic. They kind of kept holding on, and then when they finally got some opportunities, they were able to, put 3 goals in and then an empty netter to them.
And let's talk a little bit more about that goalie matchup. We got Justin Close on the Gophers. Then we have Jackson Castor for our Huskies. How do you think those two are going to match up in tomorrow night's game?
Well, Castor is about as hot a goaltender as there is in the country right now. He's coming out back-to-back shutouts, against Colorado College and against Minnesota State. And, the one against Minnesota State was very impressive because of how much firepower Minnesota State has got, the best power play in the country, and they were 3 for 3 on the penalty kill, and that all starts with goaltending. So that's a big part of why St. Cloud State is playing for a chance to go to the Frozen Four, is because of how Castor's played. With Justin Close has been a guy that for the last season and a half has kind of carried all the freight for them in net ever since Jack LaFontaine signed, and all Big Ten second team. So he's a very solid goaltender. So it's an interesting matchup with those two guys.
And now we're kind of on the road to Tampa. We just knocked 2 other teams out of the NCAA tournament. But as we know, the Huskies will be taking on the Gophers tomorrow. And what do you think is going to be truly key in the Huskies game from what you saw yesterday? What do they got to carry over? What do they got to maybe manage a little bit better to come out on top over the Gophers tomorrow?
I think one of the big things for St. Cloud State is they don't want to get into a track meet with Minnesota. By that, they don't want to get into a freewheeling up and down the ice kind of game with Minnesota. They want to kind of slug it out a little bit more with them, and they want to be real physical with them. That is part of the game from Minnesota State, and actually from the NCAA playoffs that St. Cloud State needs to carry over. They have to play a physical kind of heavy game against Minnesota to hang with them. And then, like they did yesterday, they're going to have to be opportunistic when they get opportunities.
Well, it's playoff hockey. It's anyone's game now, and it all happened tomorrow night at 5:30 on ESPNU. We got Huskies. We got the Gophers. It's going to be a good one.